I'm Stephen, USSR Robinson, and you're watching Sport Icons. Papa!
Well, so I think domestically, an interesting fight for us here in the UK would be Alen Babic versus Solomon Dacres. And right away, I know some people go, well, how can you say that's domestic when Alen Babic is a Croatian fighter? Well, he fights here in the UK, okay? And that's where his future lies, I think. I don't think his future lays anywhere else. I really don't. Once in a while, of course, he may appear on a DAZN card out in America, or if he starts to make real big waves, maybe once in a while in Croatia. But I think it'd be fair to say his future lays here in the UK. He's got a huge support here in the UK. Now, Solomon Dacres, of course, is currently 2-0. Alen Babic is currently 7-0. These guys will have a fight next, not against each other, but of course you've got Alen Babic, he's going to be taking on Mark Bennett, and Solomon Dacres looks like he's going to be taking on Sokolowski. Nothing official about that one, but I think we're hearing that that is pretty much a done deal. After their next fight, apparently they're willing to fight each other. Solomon Dacres, of course, has recently called out Alen Babic. His manager, Sam Jones, he seemed very full of it. Yeah, we'll definitely have that fight. We'll take that fight in a heartbeat, all that kind of stuff. When he bumped into Alen Babic, he seemed to be stuttering and umming and ahhing quite a bit. Okay, so who knows? I mean, for me, Sam Jones, he's one of these kind of guys. Firstly, he's a manager, so in my opinion, he shouldn't really be up front and centre on camera as much as what he is. And I think that he must look at his whole situation and go, damn, I'm blessed. I'm lucky. I'm really lucky. I think he's the kind of guy who just walked in the right door at the right time, if I'm being honest. But anyway, so Alen Babic versus Solomon Dacres is a very interesting fight. Solomon Dacres, of course, has been part of the GB squad for quite a long time. And if it wasn't for the fact that Fraser Clark is going to go to the Tokyo Olympics, Solomon Dacres would have been given the nod. So he was next in line. But instead, rather than wait another, what will be 3 years now to go to Paris 2024, he decided to turn pro. Now, his past couple of fights, he looked a little bit flat. But we know Solomon Dacres is much better than what he's shown us. Or maybe he's one of these kind of guys, maybe he spent a little bit too long in the amateur system. Maybe he's going to find it difficult to transition into the professional game. Maybe, or maybe not. We don't know. 2 fights in, can't really judge too much. But Alen Babic, 7 wins, 7 knockouts. So Alen Babic, he's going to be taking on Mark Bennett. Now, ordinarily, I would say that's a very good fight. And by the way, I'm not going to slag this off because obviously his manager, Dillian White, is a pal of mine. But ultimately, I think that I'd normally be okay with this fight, but it's only for the fact that Mark Bennett hasn't had a fight since, December 2019, when he fought in the final of the Ultimate Boxer tournament against Nick Webb, where, of course, he lost on points by unanimous decision. But the fact that he hasn't fought for that amount of time isn't in good favour for Mark Bennett. And of course, when your last fight was a loss, it's always difficult to bounce back. Ask any fighter out there who's taken losses, what was the hardest one? Most people will probably say the first one. A lot of fighters who take a loss can't bounce back. They really can't, where when they continue their career, a couple of losses seem to rack up. Mark Bennett, by the looks of his resume, of course, you could say, but he's not a very big puncher because of his 7 wins, of course, 1 defeat where he lost to Nick Webb on points in the Ultimate Boxer final. But to be fair to him, with only 1 knockout out of his 7 wins, doesn't really tell the story of Mark Bennett. He's been fighting a lot of 3-rounders. Of course, they were the Ultimate Boxer tournaments. So, of course, there were 3 fights in that one. So 3 of those fights were 3-rounders. Of course, he's had 4-rounders and what have you as well. It's very difficult to knock out opponents when it's such a short fight and they're in defensive mode right the way through. So you can't read too much into the knockout ratio of that one. But there again, maybe he doesn't punch too hard. I mean, my pal Stephen USSR Robinson, he knows Mark Bennett. And he says Mark Bennett is a big, strong, tough guy. Don't overlook him against Alen Babic. Okay? So, would it be a shock? For some people, no, it wouldn't. For others, me personally, I think it would be a little bit of a shock. Anyway, so for me, Alen Babic versus Mark Bennett would be a more interesting fight had Mark Bennett had another fight between now and then, which is still time. Maybe he can go fight on some small horse show, or maybe Eddie Hearn can throw him in with a journeyman or something between now and then to make that fight a little more interesting, maybe. But with Solomon Dacres, if he ends up fighting Kamil Sokolowski, now, a lot of people will call Sokolowski a journeyman. And if you look at his resume, you can see why. Okay, of course you can. But I think ultimately, when you really look at it with, say, Kamil Sokolowski, who, by the way, Mark Bennett has beaten Sokolowski, where he beat him on points over 4 rounds. But Sokolowski with 10 wins and 22 defeats, 2 draws, and he's been stopped only 3 times. Because a lot of these losses should not have been losses. We can look at Kamil Sokolowski's last fight against David Adelaide. I think most of us collectively believe that David Adelaide did not win that fight. He didn't. But David Adelaide, of course, he's a home fighter on a Frank Warren show. He gets the decision. Most people venomously disagree with that decision. And I think even lately, David Adelaide is looking at that going, I think I've got the rub of the green on that one. When Kamil Sokolowski fought, say, Lucas Brown, he had Lucas Brown down on the canvas. He won that fight, but didn't get the decision. Okay, so this is pretty much Kamil Sokolowski. But for him, he does have some good wins. Nick Webb. Of course, he knocked out Nick Webb. He knocked out Naylor Bull. And he's beaten some pretty decent fighters. And those who he has lost to, okay, he lost to Cash Ali. There's nothing wrong with that. Zhan Kostabowski was 13-0 in that at the time. He's ranked quite high in a couple of the sanctioning bodies. So is Ali Demirizian as well, undefeated fighter. Well, sorry, he's had 1 loss where he lost to, I forgot who he lost to actually. Was it Ajagba or something? I think it was Ajagba that he lost to. But anyway, so he's the kind of guy that will get in the ring with anybody. So just because, say, Solomon Dacres is 2-0, a predominant member of the GB squad, does not mean he's definitely going to beat Sokolowski. That's kind of my point. That's why I've been talking a little bit about Sokolowski. There's no guarantees he's going to beat Sokolowski. Sokolowski, while his resume of 10 wins and 22 defeats, don't put him in good stead. If you want to call him a journeyman, that's fine, but he's a journeyman who comes to win. A journeyman's job is self-made, really. It's a choice. A journeyman will voluntarily walk to the ring to lose. Okay? That's his job, or her job, where they will deliberately lose on points. The idea of it is to give your opponent the win, but not get knocked out, if that makes sense. Because if you get knocked out, then you'll be suspended for a few weeks. A journeyman would like to fight as regular as possible, every couple of weeks if possible. Maybe once a week if possible, and that at times as well. Why? Because they keep on earning money after money. Journeyman makes some pretty good money compared to a lot of professionals, you know. So, with Sokolowski, he's not that kind of guy. He will turn up to win. It's just that he didn't get the rub of the green. So it's going to be very interesting to see how Dacres handles Sokolowski. Very interesting. Don't be surprised. Do not be surprised if Sokolowski pulls out of that punch and knocks out Dacres. Don't be surprised with that one. But of course, I hope that Solomon Dacres wins his fight. Of course I do. And if all going well, then we get to see Solomon Dacres versus Alen Babic. Now, is that a headline fight? Maybe if it was at a, say, York Hall or something like that, or maybe a chief support to a decent main event. Maybe. But it's very interesting because Alen Babic, he's saying, don't give me Solomon Dacres because I'll hurt him. I'll brutally hurt him. When Sam Jones heard that, he started stuttering and, oh, well, maybe we can do this bit later down, you know, maybe earn a bit more money. Basically, Sam Jones, his arse went, is what happened, okay? But either way, it'd be interesting. And you would have to give both Alen Babic and Solomon Dacres a lot of praise, a lot of credit for getting in the ring with each other. Of course, there's been like a little bit of talk that maybe we're going to see Alen Babic versus Dave Allen before the end of the year or something, if Dave Allen can get like a couple of wins on under his belt. Personally, I think in the next several months, I want to see, say, maybe Alen Babic take on my pal Stephen Robinson, or Solomon Dacres take on Stephen Robinson. Ideally, if I could handpick one for him, it would be David Adelaide. Okay, but again, Stephen, he needs to get active again. Okay, he needs to get a couple of fights under his belt. Inactivity, much like Mark Bennett, ain't a good thing. Okay, so anyway, I mean, for me, I think that the future of the prospects. Could we call Alen Babic a prospect? I think we probably still can. And with Solomon Dacres and Stephen Robinson and David Adelaide and quite a few others. Fabio Wardley, of course. For me, he's probably one of the guys to look out for. Him and Stephen Robinson are the two guys to really look out for, in my opinion. David Adelaide, maybe, but if he fights Stephen Robinson, he's getting knocked out, I'll tell you right now. But anyway, so Alen Babic versus Solomon Dacres, very, very interesting fight. I would love to see that one. I really would. Hopefully Sam Jones' arse don't go if an offer finally comes through. And with Dillian Whyte being the manager of Alen Babic, Dillian Whyte, he ain't going to say to Babic, no, you ain't fighting this guy, no, you ain't fighting that guy. He ain't going to do that. And he's probably got a very easy job when it comes to Babic, as he's got a very easy job when it comes to, say, Fabio Wardley and that as well, where he knows whatever offer comes through, his fighters are going to go, yeah. So all Dillian really has to do with, say, Babic is just look at his purse. That's really all he's got to look at, try and negotiate, try and get him as much money as possible. So it's a very nice position for a manager to be in. Really is. So anyway, for me, very interesting fight. Alen Babic versus Solomon Dacres. Let's see if both of these two do actually fight each other. I'm not too sure they do. As I said, I think Sam Jones, his arse will go. I really do. Anyway, that's my thoughts. You drop me yours. Click thumbs up, subscribe, and I'll catch you all in the next video.